So last time, we have started with the anti-infectives. Nag-discuss to sa history that it started with Joseph Lister when he used the phenol for surgery. Ano siya? Antiseptic for surgery. And then Paul Ehrlich also discovered the compound 606 as a drug to treat syphilis caused by Treponema pallidum. Okay, so we are really looking for a drug with this property. We call it selective toxicity. Meaning the chemical should be able to kill or to prevent the growth of one type of organism without harming another organism. So for example, kung sa tao na siya, the chemical should be able to kill the microorganism na naa sa tao without harming the cells nato. Ano siyang ideal na ay selective toxicity. So any infective, any agent that is used locally is called germicides. And then when you say antiseptic, ang inyuhang tandaan, this is applied to living tissues. So it can be in your hands. Basta sa living tissues class, the purpose is to kill or to prevent the growth of the microorganism. We call it antiseptics. So last time also, we discussed the ideal properties of our antiseptics, especially ang iyahang toxicity, no, dapat since this is applied in living tissues, dili dapat siya makakos og grabbing toxicity sa skin or sa wound. And then dili siya ma-inactivate in the presence of our fluids, our body fluids like sa blood or sa pus. Okay? And then for disinfectant, this is naman used to kill or prevent the growth of microorganism, this time sa fomites. So when you say fomites class, these are inanimate objects, walay life. Okay? Disinfectant na siya. So actually, the ideal na mga characteristics sa atong both antiseptic and disinfectant, most likely pareho lang na siya. Dili sila ma-inactivate by living tissues as well as mga body fluids nato. And then since most of the time, before ta mag-apply og disinfectant, nagawash ta using detergent or soap. So nagapangita jud ta og anti-infective or disinfectant na compatible with the soap or mga organic compounds. And most likely dapat aesthetically pleasing. Kaya lang atong mga ginagamit karon na mga disinfectant, murag dili gyud sila aesthetically pleasing, especially nga baho jud sila. Ang Clorox na gyud ang number 1 din ha. Baho jud, dili makaya. Murag maka-suffocate. Okay? So let's continue defining some terms sa involved in our study sa mga anti-infective agents. Class, pag sinabing antisepsis, that's the application of our chemical, our antiseptic to living tissues for preventing infection. So the same, living na tissue. So pag sinabing decontamination naman, our goal here is to reduce the number of activity sa microorganism. So, dili jud siya totally na mahurot, murag safeguard lang no kung magpatay bacteria 99.9%, di siya mahurot. Pero pag maingon kag i-decontaminate nimo, then you are reducing the activity of the microorganisms present to whatever is imuhang gina-decontaminate. And then disinfection, this one is sa inanimate objects. You are applying chemicals to kill or prevent the growth of microorganisms sa mga inanimate objects. But take note that when you say disinfection, ang kaya lang ani niya kay katong mga bacteria na in their vegetative state. Pag sinabing vegetative state, ano sila? They are actively dividing. So dili kaya sa atong mga disinfectant ang mga spores. So last time na mention nako na we have two species, ano sa tawagan na sa ila? Two groups of bacteria na naga-form og spore. Those are the Clostridium and the Bacillus. So tanang klaseng Clostridium and the Bacillus, if they are subjected to kanang condition na unfavorable sa ilaha, they will not automatically die. Paano sila mag-form sa sila og spore. So ang spore is buhi gihapon sila pero they are dormant, they don't multiply, they don't divide. So pag ma-okay na ang ilahang environmental condition, mabuhi na ulit ang mga spores. So sa disinfection again class, like for example, mo gamit ka og sodium hypochlorite like the Zonrox, kaya na niya patayon ang mga microorganisms in their vegetative state, including viruses. Kung tanawon gani nimo sa label sa Zonrox, makita nimo unsa ihang mga kaya patayon, pero you will not see their spore forming na mga bacteria. Okay? And then when you say class sanitization, this is also reduction of the present na mga microorganism in inanimate object gihapon, pero ano siya, dili po siya totally i-eradicate ang mga present na microorganism, pero i-reduce lang siya to a level na acceptable for public health purposes. We call it sanitization. Okay? And then we have sterilization. Ang sterilization naman is a process na we are removing microorganisms or we are killing them, including the spores. So this time, including na ang spores kasi disinfection manggod, taman lang sa mga vegetative na state na bacteria. So this time, when you say sterilization, tanan klase, vegetative bacteria ba na siya, virus, or even the spore-forming ones, when we sterilize them, we intend to kill them all. Okay? And then we have pasteurization. This naman is a process that will kill non-sporulating microorganisms, and then the process is specific using hot water or steam, and then take note of the temperature. It's 65 to 100 degrees Celsius. So parehas sa milk, like sa cow's milk, wala na to siya ginadiretso og inom, 'di ba? Naga-undergo pa na siya og pasteurization. So the purpose why we do that sa milk is to kill the microorganisms present sa milk na nakuha nato sa animals just by heating. So at that certain temp. Okay? Pasteurization ang tawag. So these are the important na mga terminologies involved sa anti-infectives na we have to know. Questions, class? Before ta Jud, ato adyo ning isa-isahon ato ang mga anti-infectives. Ingon ko sa inyo, hataman pa ni 200 kapin nga slide. Wala. So madiretso na ta. Evaluation of the effectiveness of our sterilant. So let's start with the discussion sa ato ang mga alcohols and related compounds. So especially karon sa ato ang situation na the use of alcohol is very rampant. Nagasalig ta sa ato ang alcohol karon as antiseptic. But take note that the alcohol can either be an antiseptic or disinfectant kasi you can also apply that to inanimate objects. So including not just alcohol ha, please take note also na si aldehyde food. So take note class na the antibacterial ability or potency of our primary alcohols, especially to Staphylococcus aureus. Again, ang testing na ni is ang gigamit na bacteria is Staph aureus. So ang antibacterial property sa primary alcohols, nag-increase siya with the molecular weight until the 8th carbon atom. So like you use methanol. Methanol ang isa lang ka carbon, di ba? So pag mahimo na siya duha ka carbon, like ethanol, mas ano na siya, mas potent na siya. And then propanol na pod, mas potent. So as you go up with the molecular weight or the number of carbons, nagataas pod ang activity, ang antibacterial property ni primary alcohols. However, taman lang na siya sa carbon number 8. So, ang naay antibacterial na property na alcohol class kay gikan sa methanol hangtod lang kay octanol. So, katong mga more than 8 carbons na alcohol, actually, they don't have the antibacterial ability anymore. So, this one is a board exam question. So this is the reason why nganong as you increase the molecular weight, the more potent the alcohol is against Staphylococcus aureus. So habang naga-increase ang primary alcohol chain length or naga-increase ang length sa ato ang primary alcohol gikan sa carbon number 1 hangtod sa carbon number 8, actually naga-increase sad ang what do you call this? Intermolecular forces. So especially the van der Waals interaction. So kaning intermolecular forces, these are the force, the energy required to hold the molecules together. So again, naga-increase ang van der Waals forces of attraction. And habang naga-increase ang kanang force na that will also result to the increase in the ability of the alcohol to penetrate the cell membrane of the bacteria. So nagakusgan ang alcohol class as you go up in terms sa ilahang number of carbons. Again, kay tungod na siya nagataas pod ang intermolecular forces of attraction, and ang force na will help the agent to penetrate the microbial membrane. Pag dili man gud na siya makasulod ang agent sa microbial membrane, so dili nato ma-target ang mga organs o mga relevant na mga parts niya na maoy mo maging reason na mamatay siya or ma-prevent ang iyahang pag-grow. Okay? And then water solubility decreases. Mao po ni siya ang reason why hangtod kay octanol lang ang naay antibacterial property. Kasi habang nagataas ang chain or nagataas ang length sa carbon sa alcohol, naga-decrease ang iyahang water solubility. So dili na noon siya mahimong soluble sa water, and that will result to the apparent decrease in the antimicrobial potency of the alcohol. So mo na siya ang reason, okay? So nag-brown out na sad ila mageda, so daghan na og brown out din. Okay? It's okay. Anyway, this is being recorded. Questions, class? Kaning sa taas, mao ni ang reason why as you increase the alcohol chain, nagiging more potent ang atuang alcohol. But kaning ikaduha, this is the reason why taman kay octanol lang ang naay antimicrobial potency. More than 8 carbons, wala na. Okay? Kadili na siya water soluble. And then another thing that you have to take note, that branching of alcohol chain decreases antibacterial potency. Diba sa inyuhang organic chemistry class, wait lang. Let me write it sa screen. Diba sa inyuhang organic chemistry, this one is a straight chain if it looks like this. And then when you say branching, kanang naa na siya yung mga substituent din ha. Okay? So ang inyuhang tandaan, ang katong previous slide, it talks about the linear chain, diretso-diretso lang. Kasi kapag kanaan ay branching sa imuhang alcohol na structure, it will result to the decrease in the antibacterial potency. Kasi branching will cause na ang van der Waals forces, the intermolecular forces will also weaken, and since weak na siya, it cannot penetrate the cell membrane anymore. So, ang ato adyong class in terms of potency, primary alcohols, kaning straight chain alcohols lang nato, and at the same time, siya, basta primary alcohol, ang OH nimo kay nakabind dito sa carbon nga nakabind lang pod sa isa ka carbon. So primary siya. This one is the carbon where the OH is nakabind, and then again it is bound to isa lang sad ka carbon. So primary alcohol ang pinaka-potent. However, if you have like secondary alcohol where if this is the carbon kung asa nakabind si OH, it is also bound to 2 more carbons. Kani siya ang tawag ani secondary alcohol na. And this most likely tertiary pinakahinay sa ilaha og kanang antibacterial property kasi you take note, grabe na ang iyahang branching like this one. The OH is bound to this carbon na bound to 3 more carbons. Ang tawag ani nato sa iyaha kay tertiary alcohol. So nagawikan siya ang antibacterial force or antibacterial property kapag ka naga-branch ang structure. Okay, so primary. Muna class nga ang atong ginagamit kay ethanol. Ethanol is an example of a primary alcohol. If you draw the structure of ethanol, remember duha na siya ka carbon. So this one is OH here. And then punuon lang nimo siya og H. So primary alcohol siya. This is the carbon where OH is bound, nakabound siya. And then this one, isa lang siya ka carbon. Okay? Primary alcohol. Wait lang, let us admit them. Okay, nagawala-wala sila. But another board exam question class, kasi exception siya. Remember, isopropyl alcohol is a branched alcohol. However, it is slightly more active than ethyl alcohol against vegetative bacterial growth. Pero at the same time, ineffective gihapon si isopropyl alcohol when it comes to spores. Okay? Daghan kaig nag-brown out karon. So if we draw the structure of isopropyl alcohol, it looks like this. Mura siya og umbrella. So this one is a branched one. Actually, this is a secondary alcohol. Ano secondary? Kasi this is the carbon here na nakabind si OH and then nakabind siya sa 2 more carbons. Nakalink siya to 2 more carbons. Okay, noted. Again, board exam question ha, isopropyl alcohol is slightly more active than ethyl alcohol. That is why, if you can see in the market, ang atoang mga antiseptic na alcohol, duha na siya, ethyl alcohol and isopropyl alcohol. Okay? So, another thing, I think the 60%, hindi na siya moagi. Kanang 60% na ethyl alcohol or ethanol class. Yes, Belly, you're raising your hand. Yes, isa man. Wala. Pindot lang. Okay, 40% isopropyl alcohol. Nagiging pantay ang activity na isopropyl alcohol ug ni ethanol at this concentration. So mas potent jud si isopropyl kay take note gamay lang na concentration ng iyahang kailangan. Mupantay na siya sa activity sa 60% na ethanol. So kung mupalit mo og alcohol pohon, if you buy a 40% isopropyl alcohol, that's almost the same thing with the 70% na ethanol sa market. So walay problema. Parehas lang ang ilahang activity. Usahay man gud choosy ta di ta gustog 40% kay basig dili makalimpyo. Okay? Sige. Brown out. Okay, so what is the mechanism of action of our alcohols? This is true for all alcohol ha. Paano nila gina-prevent ang growth and ginapatay ang bacterial cells? So this is the process. It's the denaturation of important proteins and carbohydrates. So, class, ang penetration sa alcohol sa mga cell membrane sa bacteria is very important para maabot niya ng mga proteins and carbohydrates sa sulod. Now, once class na makasulod na siya, it will interact most likely to the proteins kasi that is the most important thing in the structure of the bacteria para dili mag-lyse ang cell sa bacteria. Mag-interact na siya with the protein and then i-destroy niya, i-denature niya ang protein. So katong mga bonds nato sa protein, maguba to siya and ang result ana sa bacteria is dili na siya maka-multiply, dili na siya maka-grow. And consequently, kadugayan, mamatay rasad ang bacteria. Okay? So that's how all the alcohols work against the bacteria. Questions? Wala. I don't have, wait lang. I don't have Relo. Wait. I cannot work without Relo, manggod. Okay, from time to time, nagatanaw ko sa Relo. Wait lang, I'll get one. Okay, let's continue. Wala mo gusto i-clarify mechanism of action sa ato ang alcohol. So take note ha, protein and carbohydrates ang target sa ato ang alcohol para mamatay ang bacteria. So let's discuss the alcohol USP. Pag makakita gani mo alcohol USP, United States Pharmacopoeia, ang alcohol nga gina-refer din ha is the ethanol. So other name for ethanol is ethyl alcohol, or we can also call it wine spirit or spiritus vini rectificatus. It refers to ethanol kana siya. And then pwede po siya tawagon o grain alcohol. And the alcohol USP accepted by the USP contains 95% ethanol by volume. So it's not really 100%. 95% alcohol siya, the rest 5% pwede siya water. So ginatawag po siya o grain alcohol class kasi our ethanol is most likely a product of fermentation sa ato ang mga grains and other carbohydrates na mga sources. So maulang na siya inyuhang wala na experience during the online class kasi you were not able to make your own alcohol or sa inyuhang wine. So wala mo nakatry mag-process of fermentation para makaproduce mo ani. So pag mayon kag alcohol ha, it's any substance na known as ethyl alcohol, hydrated oxide, of ethyl or spirit of wine from whatever sources. So bisag asa pa na nimo siya gikuha sa grain, sa mga prutas, as long as pareha sila og structure na IOH, alcohol gud ang tawag ana. And having a proof of 160 or more. I hope you can still remember your PharmCal. How do you compute? Kasi nagainom din he. How do you compute for the percent alcohol? If the proof is like given, pag nakabutang din ha, 180 proof, i-divide lang na nimo siya sa 2 class, that will be the percent of alcohol present in the liquor. Okay? So, ang atoang limit is 160. So, ang limit sa proof nato is 160. So that means 80% alcohol by volume na siya. But take note that it does not include substances commonly known as whiskey, brandy, or gin. Now, I have an assignment sa inyo ha. Let's get to know more about the different alcohol ng mga liquors na available in the market. So in a piece of paper, you just take a picture of your assignment and then upload it sa Schoology. I'll give a portion sa Schoology sa assignment na ni. Please differentiate the following liquors. So number 1, I hope you are you are taking note. Number 1, we have beer. Number 2, wine. Number 3, whiskey. Number 4, brandy. Number 5, rum. Number 6, gin. Number 8, vodka. Number 9, tequila. Nakuha to. Or do you want to add anything na wala na ako na mention? Saan wala na ako na mention na liquor?
Pagtapos mo ng gin, ma'am, nagdiretso ka ng vodka, ma'am.
Walang 7.
Ayun sa, sige daw, i-enumerate daw kung mga na-mention na.
Number 1, beer, wine, whiskey, brandy, rum, gin, vodka, tequila.
Okay. 8. Sige, kana. Do you want to add something? I'm really not familiar with the drinks, man good. Apa ba kayo nakalimtan? Wala mo na, di ba? Beer.
Ano si spirit, ma'am?
Wine. Yeah, actually, they are spirits. And kaning mga ilimno na ni, some of them are spirits. Kana lang no, kita nagainom dire. Tuloy ko ninyo kay wala na ako nabalaan.
Can't relate.
Tutorial daw, guys.
What is that? Ano na, karoon ako kabatian na.
Can't relate.
Coke. May alcohol ang Coke. Anong na yung alcohol? So pa, wala na no? So kana lang. Ano man na dira? Rum. Tanduay is rum. Diba? Ano ba? Most likely beer ang ginainom. Sige, please differentiate them para kailat ta. Basig inom-inom ta niyo, wala ta kabalo unsay difference nila. Actually, ang difference ana nila kay ang process and ang source. Kasi ang uban gikan sa grain, ang uban gikan sa molasses, depende asa nila gikuha ng source ana ilahang gipangbuhat. Okay? Ang uban ana ng mga ilimnon class is from the beer itself na ginadistill nila ang beer. Tapos na makabuhat na sila bagong ilimnon. Yan. Questions about sa assignment? I want that handwritten ha. Hindi ako ganahag copy-paste. So para mag-effort, I want that handwritten. Kapag ginasulat ni mo na, mas maalala ni mo na.
Ma'am, kano saan ni taman?
You can pass it until next week. Ako mga assignments class, kaya ano gina siya? 1 week. 1 week lang. Deadline. Okay? So, class, pag moingon kag alcohol, this is the most widely abused sa tanan klaseng recreational drug. Okay? Alcohol is a drug. Please take note of that. It's a drug, but it is widely abused. It is grabe ang abuse sa alcohol. However, pharmaceutically, daghan og gamit class ang alcohol. Pharmaceutically, we can use alcohol as a solvent. Pwede siya co-solvent lang siya. Pwede siya preservative. So, daghan og gamit si alcohol. Now, inside the body, we metabolize alcohol through oxidation. So I believe na mention na nako siya sa previous na chapter na nag-undergo siya og oxidation, just like when you drink ethanol, the ethyl alcohol. Syempre, ethanol man jud ang ginainom, wala na ilaing alcohol na ginainom. So inside the body, it will become acetaldehyde. So ang process ana is oxidation. Actually, series siya of oxidation in vivo. Pag mayingon gani kag in vivo class, it's inside the body. Pag in vitro, it's using laboratory na mga glasswares like test tubes, in vitro na siya. Pag in vivo, sa body mismo. So, kanang inyong research karon na you are using animals, ano na siya, in vivo na siya, kahit painom man nimo siya sulod sa body. Pero pag kanang ang gamiton lang nato mga test like using a test tube or using a petri dish, like sa bacteria kay mag-measure of zone of inhibition, in vitro ang tawag. Now, the antidote for alcohol na abuse is disulfiram. And then last time, I have also introduced disulfiram sa inyo na ginagamit nato siya for persons who wanted or who want to stop drinking alcohol kasi maganda sila mag-headache. Okay? Questions about our alcohol, the alcohol USP, or our ethanol? Wala? Sige. So let's move on sa denatured alcohol. So if makita ninyo ning denatured alcohol sa laboratory class, it's still ethanol. Ethanol gihapon na siya ang denatured alcohol, pero it's unfit na siya na inumon. So dili na siya pwede himuong beverage, dili na siya pwedeng inumon kasi naa na siya yung mga additional substances. So mo na siyang gitawag siya denatured. So pag denatured alcohol, either it contains methanol, other name of methanol is wood alcohol, or ang uban pod nga denatured alcohol naa siya benzene. So kana silang duha na addition nga gimix dito sa ethanol is na siya, kanang toxic na sila. So dili na sila pwede for application whether internal or external. So pwede na lang sila gamiton as disinfectant. Disinfectant na ang atong denatured alcohol, pero dili na siya pwede gamiton sa living tissues. Kasi methanol class can cause blindness. That is why nakabutang din eye toxicity. Kay kay methanol. Pag inumon si methanol, eye toxicity na siya. And kung si benzene is highly carcinogenic, meaning it can cause cancer, especially leukemia. So bone marrow ang iyahang target. So I hope nakuha na. Way mo inom og benzene kay carcinogenic. Dili siya like, kung gamay lang mainom nimo, dili ka dayon mamatay, pero carcinogenic siya. Yes, Movina, same lang ang ethanol ug ethyl alcohol. Remember sa inyuhang organic chemistry, IUPAC, the IUPAC name is our kanang systematic name sa our nomenclature. So ethanol class is an IUPAC name sa chemical, and ethyl alcohol is a common name. So common name na siya si ethyl alcohol, and then the IUPAC name is ethanol. I hope that's clear. It's the same chemical substance. Just like the methanol and the methyl alcohol. So methanol is the IUPAC name, while the common name is methyl alcohol. Okay? Katusag ako ang examples like sa acetaldehyde class na acetaldehyde is the common name. Common name na si acetaldehyde. Ang iyahang IUPAC name kay methanol. Okay? So I hope review mo sa inyuhang organic chemistry, labi na sa naming, kasi sometimes others would use the IUPAC name and ang uban ang common name ang ginagamit. Okay? Now we have specially denatured alcohol. This is still ethanol pero ang mga additional nga substances is na ay mga purpose. Na ay mga purpose ngano siya, na specialized purpose ngano siya gi-add dito sa alcohol. So for example, iodine in alcohol for tincture of iodine. So kung nagabuhat tag tincture of iodine, syempre si alcohol dugangan nimo og iodine. So ang uban nagabutang sila og methanol for depende sa purpose, like kung naa sila ginastadihan nga gusto nila na mas maging soluble ang isa ka substance dito sa imong alcohol, sahay dugangan nila og methanol. And other substances in mouthwashes and aftershave lotions class, alcohol, naghapon na sila alcohol. Ang uban ha, pero karon na akong mostly makita sa mga mouthwashes nato kay alcohol-free na. Okay? Even sa toner, di ba, dati nagdaghan na siyang alcohol. Mga specially denatured alcohol na sila. Alcohol nga gibutangan og mga daghang additives for a specialized purpose. Okay? So what are the primary uses of alcohol? So do not forget that alcohol is an antiseptic para sa living tissues, but it can also be a disinfectant for inanimate objects. And mention ako kagaina that alcohol can be used as a preservative if we want like to preserve something, pwede siya alcohol. And pwede siya mild counter-irritant, like you have like irritation sa inyong skin, you can actually use alcohol as a counter-irritant. And pwede po siya solvent. So mani siya sa pharmaceutical na side, pwede siya solvent. Pero ang mga manufacturer, pag gigamit ganina nila si alcohol as a solvent, they really have to declare that, especially if ihatag siya sa bata. Kasi lisod kung ang alcohol ihatag sa bata. Okay? Questions? Wala, tingog sad mo basig nangatulog na mo dira. Natulog na mo?
We're alive, ma'am.
Sabi na ako natulog na mo. Sige. Magsugod na mag-study ha, daghan biya kayo ni. Napatay pharmacology nga daghan kaayo, and then I don't know with your other subjects, basig daghan sad kaayo to. Study class, kay para masulod ni sa inyong mga brain cells. Okay? Mag-brain exercise para dili mag-shrink ang brain. Kan kayo mag-studyhan. Startin na ninyo kay hapit na ang exam. Okay, let's talk about rubbing alcohol kasi daghan og times na mabatian na to siya nga like mupalit ta grabbing alcohol. Pag muingon ka grabbing alcohol class, it usually contains 70% ethanol. So kanang ginapalit na to sa market na antiseptic, ano na siya, rubbing alcohol atong tawagan na if it contains 70% ethanol. So ginagamit siya as astringent. Si astringent has something to do with like closing your pores. Ang mga pores nimo. Umubutang bugnaw magandang alcohol class, so pag ibutang nimo na siya sa imuhang skin, mo close ang imuhang pores. That's how you make your pores close. Dapat bugnaw. Nawa sa Korea, close ilahang pores, bugnaw magandang ilahang lugar. Diri sa ato sa Jensen kay init man, naga-expect gyud ta nga naga-open gyud ato ang pores dinhi kay mo dyan na siya, body's mechanism dyan na siya nga basta init ang temperature, naga-open ang pores. And then pwede po siya gamiton as rubefacient, pang-rub, rubefacient itong tawag. Pwede po siya refrigerant again kasi di ba bugnaw ato ang alcohol. And mild local anesthetic. So for example, before ka injectionan butangan sa og alcohol no. So aside from being an antiseptic, kanang alcohol is local, very mild local anesthetic para dili kay ka masakitan kung tusukon na ka. Okay? So this is actually because of the evaporative refrigerant action sa alcohol pag i-apply siya sa skin. E di ba ang alcohol pag i-apply siya sa skin, mag-evaporate lang siya og iyaha. And then since naa siya refrigerant na property, magbugnaw-bugnaw ba? So ma-attribute na punto siya sa iyahang local anesthetic na action. And then there are cases, class, na alcohol is being injected near our nerve cells or our neurons or sa ganglia. Remember the ganglia sa pharmacology? It refers to the junction between one neuron to another neuron, especially if we are talking about pain. Kay local anesthetic man siya, so pwede siya like i-inject. Okay? And this one has low narcotic potency and ginagamit siya internally as a form of mild sedative. Sedative jud ang alcohol, class. So pag inumon mo siya, masedate jud ka. But this one is a board exam question that in low dose, pag gamay pa lang imuhang dose, actually alcohol is a CNS stimulant. So a person, class, nga gamay pa lang ang nainom, mauna na siya ang time nga hyper kaayo siya kasi CNS stimulant si alcohol at low dose. However, kapag ka high dose na ang ingest na administer internally sa alcohol, it becomes now a CNS depressant. So mahimo na siya og sedative. Okay? And alcohol is a weak vasodilator, so it is common, class, nga kapag nakainom ka, mamula jug ka. So that's an indication na your blood vessels are being dilated, na-dilate na siya because of the effect of alcohol. Okay? And then, what else? Kita man mo og ano, no? Kita man mo og nahubog. So like, or kamo mismo na naka-experience og nahubog. Kadot lang ha, kaya ako lang tubagon si Aiso. Kay Louis sad, naunsa na to si Wait lang.
Gani ma'am, ganina pa daw siya nag-chat sa imo ha ma'am.
Suka. Kadot. Kaya tingog akong cellphone, class. Tingon na jud siya drig, ma'am.
Wala ka, ma'am. O siguro to ginasabak kay mo messenger.
Kaya lang ha. Kaya nagahiwalay sila sa ilaga kung kinsa ang babae o kinsa ang lalaki. And then dali naman na mabalaan ng ilaga, kanam na itlog ang lalaki.
Pag feel ni Ice kung babae dit mo na lang na.
Klaro kung kayo ang itlog sa lalaki nga ilaga. Okay, sige, na-replyan na nako siya. Okay, asa na ta? And aside from that, rubbing alcohol is a carminative. Pag maingon kag carminative, ano na siya, anti-flatulence. Para mawala ang mga gas sa sulod. Mga hangin, like sa tiyan. Carminative si alcohol. And remember that when you metabolize alcohol, it will become acetaldehyde, and this is the cause of the hangover. So what are the signs of hangover? You have nausea and vomiting. Kapag ka nagsugod na og ingana ang atuang person nga nakainom og alcohol, wala na nagsugod, nagmetabolize. And vasodilatory flushing. So pag sinabing vasodilatory flushing, it's when the patient becomes red and kanang init ang iyahang feeling sa iyahang body. Is that correct? Have you tried? Because I have never tried like drinking alcohol and having hangover. So I don't know the feeling of having nausea and vomiting na attributed to the alcohol. Nanawag na si Isobel. Wait lang, si Isobel na nanawag. Kadot lang dyan na. Hello. So, alcohol, class, is also used in the pharmacy na side for the following, for the preparation of the following. So pag magbuhat tag spirits, tinctures, or fluid extracts, alcohol na atong ginagamit. So especially sa pag magbuhat tag spirits na ang sole solvent, wala na ilaing solvent nga gamiton pag spirit, class, alcohol lang yun na siya. Unlike sa tinctures, by the way, ang kaibahan sa spirits o sa tinctures, si spirit, purely alcohol ang solvent. Pero pag moingon ka og tinctures, it's hydroalcoholic, meaning it's a combination of water and alcohol. And then we have like fluid extracts na Si alcohol kay mahimo siya og co-solvent. So co-solvent siya, pwede ka mo gamit og other types of solvents pa. Basta co-solvent lang sa fluid extract si alcohol. So mo ni siya ang mga preparations nato sa pharmacy using alcohol. And then take note of the following percentages. Ang 70% ang ato ang acceptable na bactericidal concentration. So pag mayroon kag bactericidal, it can really kill the bacteria at that percent. So kung makita ninyo sa market, atong mga available na ethanol kay 70% yun. Even our isopropyl alcohol, we also have 70% isopropyl alcohol. However, class between 60 to 95%, wala dyan siya yung ato nga difference when it comes to bactericidal action. So whether you use 60% or you use 95%, the action is most likely similar. However, if you use magod 60%, it's effective in killing the bacteria. Kaya lang you need longer contact time with this. Meaning, kailangan magstay si alcohol for a long period of time sa imuhang kamot to really kill the bacteria. So, ang pinaka-safe gyud nato nga gamiton na wala na nag-require og longer na contact time but at the same time effective in killing the bacteria, it's 70%. So, pwede siya kanang before surgery na antiseptic or sterilization sa skin before the operation. Okay? Tadmaw na siya ha. Pero take note sa isopropyl alcohol. Isopropyl alcohol na 40% is similar to 60% na ethanol. Okay? Another type of alcohol class is dehydrated alcohol. So si dehydrated alcohol, ginatawag pud nato na siya absolute alcohol. Dehydrated siya kay 99% alcohol siya, mga 1% na lang ang water. So absolute. Wala jud tayo naga-exist class nga 100% alcohol. Ang pinakataas nga concentration is 99. And then we call it absolute or dehydrated. So mo ni siya ang isopropyl alcohol nga kagay na pa nako gina-mention. Ginagamit siya antiseptic siya sa skin ha, pero disinfectant siya sa mga surgical instruments. So this is a bactericidal na agent, meaning it can really kill the bacteria sa sa concentration range between 50 to 95%. I mean, rapid ang iyang bactericidal action in that percentages. However, 40% na concentration is similar to 60% ethanol when it comes to its antiseptic power. So by the way, class, kaning 2-propanol diri is mao na siya ang IUPAC name ni isopropyl alcohol. IUPAC name, ha? So do not forget the structure of the isopropyl alcohol. It looks like this. Okay, muna siya nga 2-propanol. Prop means tatlo ka carbon, 1, 2, 3. And then 2 means nasa carbon number 2, C, all. And that's alcohol. 2-propanol. Okay? Questions? Wala? Sige. Kailangan dyan ninyo na siya i-absorb tanan akong mga gipang ingon. And then we have class the ethylene oxide. This is the structure of our ethylene oxide. It's a ring. It's an ether. Kay ROR man, di ba? Pag ether, ROR. So ether na siya. But it's a ring. The name is ethylene oxide. So where do we use ethylene oxide? Ginagamit natin siya to sterilize mga temperature-sensitive na mga medical equipments. Kasi pag nag-sterilize na class, most of the time we use the autoclave. I don't know if nakakita na mag-autoclave natin, autoclave sa school. And ginagamit natin na siya sa microbiome natin ng mga procedures. Kasi ginagamit siya to sterilize our glasswares or other equipment for microbiological assays. However, we have like medical equipment na sensitive sa temperature. So, dili siya pwede i-subject sa autoclave. Si autoclave manggod is both high temperature and high pressure. So, maguba ang medical equipment. Therefore, chemical na lang ato ang ginagamit to sterilize the equipment. And that is the ethylene oxide. Now, paano okay, again, mechanism of action. So let's talk about the mechanism of action of ethylene oxide. Paano niya patayon ang bacteria? So this one is the alkylation of functional groups in nucleic acids and proteins by nucleophilic ring opening. So paano nato ni siya i-explain in terms nga madali siya masabtan. Kani si ethylene oxide class. Where's my pen? Magkagwapa, where is my pen? Sige lang. Parang sulat ko kagaina noon niya. Asa na ko ibutang akong pen? Wait lang.
Sa last slide lang good ka nagsulat mo.
Ha?
Sa last slide, nagsulat lang. Sana ni mo gito.
Sulat ko sa last slide. Nawala lagi ang pen ay aswang daring dapita.
Hala ka, ma'am.
Wala dyan ang pen. Sa akong pen. Gosh. Ay, siya nga. Okay, nakita na ko siya. Alright, let's continue. So, ano ni siya class? Inside the body, I mean kung sa like sa bacteria di ay, once si ethylene oxide class magkaroon og contact with the bacteria, makapenetrate siya sa cell membrane sa bacteria, kani nga ring ma-open ni siya, maputol ning mga bonds dere. Okay, ma-open. That is called nucleophilic ring opening. Now, once class ma-open na siya, these two will be released. So we call this alkyl groups. Alkyl group na ang tawag ana. And then this alkyl group will interact with the nucleic acids and the proteins of the bacteria. So ma-incorporate na siya dito sa structure sa nucleic acid ug sa protein sa bacteria, thereby ang result ana is dili na siya mag-grow, dili na siya makamultiply, and yes, padulong siya sa death. So mo na siyang ginatawag og alkylation, meaning kanang mga alkyl groups din ginadugtong na siya, gina-incorporate dito. Ang target is either the nucleic acids. When you say nucleic acid, it's RNA or DNA of the bacteria. And then proteins also of the bacteria will be alkylated, resulting to the inhibition of the growth and multiplication, at the same time, death of the bacteria. Questions about the effect of ethylene oxide? Ang tawag na nucleophilic ring opening, ma-open ang ring kasi it's a ring. Ano ni siya, dugtong ni sila. Okay? So, what's the problem with ethylene oxide? So, dili siya basta-basta ginagamit because when it is exposed to air, pag ma-expose sa air si ethylene oxide, especially if its concentration is between 3% to 80% by volume, naga-cause siya og explosion. So mao gid na atong problem with the ethylene oxide. It's an explosion hazard, but it can be eliminated. The explosion hazard can be eliminated by adding carbon dioxide in the mixture. I-add na to siya dito sa kay ethylene oxide, and then dili na siya basta-basta mag-explode even if ma-expose siya sa oxygen. So we have a brand in the market na combination ni ethylene oxide and the carbon dioxide. We call it carboxide. Okay? However, this is just a disinfectant. It's not an antiseptic because ethylene oxide is carcinogenic. So once na ma-expose, mag-cause og cancer. Okay? Questions about the alcohols and related compounds niya? Those ether tong isa ha. Wala. Sure na yun. I still have time, so I'll continue with the aldehydes. So the first antiseptic under the aldehydes, we have the formaldehyde solution. Or commonly, we call it formalin. Okay? So pag maingon ka og formaldehyde solution, ano na siya? It's a mixture. It contains 37% na formaldehyde tapos naapadyoy methanol nag-i-add through polymerization. But take note na it's not an antiseptic but it's a disinfectant. However, formalin is most commonly used as embalming fluid. So embalming fluid na siya to preserve the body. So any body like human body or animals, you can preserve the body using the formalin. Na ma-preserve na siya. Hindi mo ni siya pwede inumon ha kay buhi pa kag preserve na nimo imuhang internal organs. So paano siya as disinfectant? It's actually the same with the ethylene oxide na there is alkylation of the proteins. Okay? Direct and non-specific alkylation of nucleophilic functional nucleophilic functional groups of the proteins. So ang protein sa bacteria, i-alkylate niya. So pag mayroon kag alkyl group, it's like methyl, ethyl, mao na sila. Alkyl group ato ang tawag ada sa ila. And idugtong na siya dito sa proteins sa bacteria. And pag madugtong na siya, syempre it will cause dysfunction of the protein. That is why it cannot grow, it cannot multiply, and eventually mamatay ang bacteria. Okay? That is for the formaldehyde. Questions about formaldehyde? Wala. By the way, class, nga nung masigi ko gingon og protein sa bacteria ha. Class, ang protein sa bacteria o protein sa tao, dili pareho. That is why, if a certain agent is kanang para siya sa bacteria, specific lang yun na siya sa bacteria. Though, bisan pag inumon mo na siya, it cannot affect directly the protein sa tao. Parehas na mga antibacterial agents nato karon like erythromycin. Si erythromycin class ang target jud niya bacterial protein. Pero di ba giinom nato si erythromycin nganong wala na apektuhan ang ato ang sariling protein kasi magkaiba ang bacteria sa tao and sa magkaiba ang protein sa bacteria o sa tao. Okay? And then we have another anti-infectives under the aldehydes. We call it glutarol or glutaraldehyde. Our brand name sa market ani is the Sidex. So just like ethylene oxide, this is also used to sterilize like medical equipment na cannot be autoclaved. Ha? Kanang mga temperature sensitive nato na mga equipment na dili pwede i-autoclave, we can use the glutarol or glutaraldehyde. Now, I have something na ipa-research sa inyo ha. Ang akong slide class, kung napansin ninyo, there will be times na muhatag ko sa structure. So just like the isopropyl alcohol, I gave you the structure of isopropyl alcohol. Ethylene oxide also is already in the slide. But you will see anti-infectives here na wala na ko gibutang ang structure. So it's for you to find out. You have to research the structure of the formaldehyde. It doesn't mean nga wala na ko na siya gisulat dinhi, dili na to sila importante. So mag-start na mo og memorize or familiarize sa mga structure. So like formaldehyde, I've not given the structure here. and even the glutarol and the glutaraldehyde. So it's your assignment. No need to pass the structures, but you really have to research and you have to be familiar with their structure. Kaya magawas dyan na siya. Kung dili man sa akong exam dito sa board exam. Ha? Okay? Anything that you would like to clarify? Walay. So let's move on. Yes, Rosel.
Namali lang pindot, ma'am.
Okay. Sige. So let's move on sa phenols and their derivatives. So phenols na taha. So the first one is the phenol. Wala dapat makalimot sa structure sa phenol. This is a very common substance. It's composed of a benzene ring and an OH. So this is how you write the structure of the phenol. So the phenol USP is actually our anti-infective where all of our germicidal substances are being compared. Meaning, ma-accept lang siya as a germicide if the action is comparable to phenol. Kay mao man gud ni ang pinakaunang gigamit, remember Joseph Lister. So after nagigamit na siya ni Joseph Lister, nahimo na siya og like standard. So kailangan abuton sa isa ka chemical ang ability ni phenol before siya ma-accept as a germicide. So we call it phenol coefficient. Again, phenol coefficient ang tawag ana. It's the ratio of a disinfectant to the dilution of phenol required to kill a given strain of bacterium called Salmonella typhi under carefully controlled conditions over a given period. So dapat para ma-accept ang isa ka substance nga anti-infective siya or germicide siya, dapat parehas ang iyahang action sa phenol when it comes to killing the Salmonella typhi. Again, we call it phenol coefficient. Wait lang. Okay. Sige. So what's the mechanism of action of our phenol? Take note, class, na naatay duha ka mechanism of action sa phenol. So the first one is denaturation of the bacterial proteins at low concentration. So this one is dose dependent. Pag gamay nga dose ang atuang gigamit for phenol, the target is the bacterial proteins. Meaning, ano sa siya, bacteriostatic sa siya first if low concentration. Meaning, i-inhibit sa niya ang growth sa bacteria. Kapag ani class, ang inyong tandaan, kapag ang isa ka substance, ang target niya kay ang protein sa bacteria, it's bacteriostatic. It will inhibit the growth of the bacteria. But at higher concentration, phenol is bactericidal. Kasi, ang iyahang target na jud kay ang bacterial cell membrane and it will lyse kanang mubuton na jud ang cell, magisi ang cell. Pag mag-lyse na ang cell class, automatic patay na ang bacteria. Sa denaturation of proteins manggo, dili sa mag-grow ang bacteria, hangtod mamatay siya. So dugay pa siya mamatay. Wala lang siya nag-grow pag denaturation of the protein. Pero pag nag-lyse ang cell, nibuto ang cell, nagisi ang cell, patay na diretso ang bacteria. Naman na siya ang kalahian. Mechanisms of action depende sa dose sa phenol. So other name class of phenol is carbolic acid. That's the other name of phenol, carbolic acid. You know this very well that this was introduced by Joseph Lister as an antiseptic. Surgical antiseptic siya. So, pwede siya antiseptic, pwede po siya disinfectant, pero the use is largely obsolete because phenol is a corrosive substance. So, makasunog siya sa panit nato, class. Though dati class natay antiseptic, we call it phenolated calamine lotion. Kung ginagamit dyan siya as lotion sa una, no? Karon kay calamine na lang man na, di ba natay calmoseptin sa market? Calamine na lang na siya. Dati, it's phenolated calamine lotion. Kaya lang again, um, phenol is corrosive. So, the use is now obsolete. Wala na siya ginagamit. So, pwede siya germicide, pero caustic siya sa skin. And just like alcohol, na siya local anesthetic na effect. Okay? So, napod tayo, this one is a board exam question, the liquefied phenol. Just have to take note that pag itawag na siya liquefied phenol, it contains 10% water. So, gihaluan na siya og water, 10% only. And then we have another substance na ang structure is patterned to phenol. We call it para-chlorophenol. I hope you can still remember your organic chemistry. Pag moingon kag para, it's 1,4. So if this is carbon number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1,4 ang meaning anang para. So meaning magkabilang mundo sila. Okay? So ang unsay gamit ni para-chlorophenol, ginagamit siya in combination with camphor in liquid petrolatum. Unsa siya, antiseptic and anti-irritant. So you can see this chemical sa mga antiseptic nato nga preparations at the same time mga anti-irritant nato na preparations. And then we have para-chloro-metasilinol. Again, we call it para-chloro-metasilinol. Para-chloro means if this is your OH, on the other side, you will see the chloro. And then metasilinol, meta is 1, 2, right? 1, 2. So 1, 2, 1, 3? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 3. Metasilinol. So, look at the structure. This is actually patterned to phenol still. So you can see the phenol part here. But na siya para-chloro nga side. And metasilinol, duha ka CH3. Silinol is this one and another CH3 here. Please be familiar with the structure. But just like para-chlorophenol class, this is still used as an anti-septic. Pero broad ang iyahang spectrum of action. Pag maingon kag broad, dili lang na siya bacteria ang iyahang kaya patayon. So apil na diri ang atuang fungi. And then natay mga shampoo na naga-contain og para-chlorometasilinol at 2% concentration. Shampoo ni siya nga antifungal. Okay? Anong ganing na yung mga kaspaan na. And since antifungal siya, pwede siya gamiton for any tinea infection. Pag gitawagan nila siya tinea infection class, it is caused by fungi. And most likely, ano lang na siya kanang superficial. Meaning like sa skin lang siya na mga fungal infection. Okay? Pareha sa athlete's foot. We call it tinea pedis. I don't know if you can still remember that sa inyong microbio. Medical term for athlete's foot, it's tinea pedis. So mo na siya kana nagabaho ang tiil no, it's like fungal infection. Nasa skin lang. And then the jock itch, pag itawag na siya jock itch class, it's a fungal infection sa singit. Okay? Sa singit na siya, kanang katol ang singit, kaya na ay fungal infection. So, ang medical term pod nato sa jock itch is tinea cruris. Okay? C-R-U-R-I-S. Tinea cruris. So, para din si para-chloro-metasilinol. And then we have hexachlorophene, kani kay if you are just like curious na kanang pagmupalit mo og mga bagay-bagay, ginatanaw ninyo ang kanang ingredients gani. I don't know if you're that person na adjay tao nga before niya paliton tanawon sa niya ang mga ingredients. You can see these chemicals. Ani hexachlorophene. Most likely makita nato ni sa atong mga sabon, sa mga creams na ginabutang nato sa nawong. They exist not as single nga substance but in combination with other substance to form a product. So napod siya sa lotions and other shampoos at 2 to 3% ang iyahang gamit is antiseptic siya. Okay? We have hexachlorophene. And then we have cresol. This is a mixture actually of 3 isomeric na mga cresols plus. Wait. So, unsay gamit sa ato ang cresol? Just like the phenol, it can be an antiseptic, pwede po siya disinfectant. By the way, Lysol is a brand. Ang generic ang chemical niya na content is a cresol. Ha? Cresol na ang Lysol. Ginagamit nato nga disinfectant. So we have an example of a chlorocresol, of a cresol, we call it chlorocresol. Ginagamit siya as preservative. So again, I'm reminding you, sa tanang chemicals nga wala na ko gisali dire ang structure, inyuhan na siyang assignment. So just like the chlorocresol. And then, wait, taas-taas pa. Dili din ako siya mahuman. We will continue. Sa oras na. 4:29. So, humanon lang ako hangtod kay thymol. The IUPAC name of thymol is isopropyl M-cresol. This is an antiseptic nga ginakuha nato sa plant called Thymus vulgaris, or commonly we call it thyme, from the mint na family. So naatay chemical din nga gina-extract from the plant. So this one is an antiseptic pero specific siya sa fungi. Okay? So fungicidal siya. Ginagamit siya for tinea infections. By the way, layman's term sa tinea infection kay ringworm. Ano itong ginatawag og ringworm, ha? Ang mga tinea infection. So makita nato ni siya sa mga powder nga gina-apply pag naatay fungal infection. Kani si thymol. Okay? So next meeting, we will have our quiz at chapter 3. And then please study ahead of time also the chapter 4, katugan ning biotechnology. Kay I might give a quiz of that also, but next week Friday na. Thursday ang ato ang chapter 3. And then after the quiz, we will continue with the resourcinol and the other na mga antiseptic. Okay? Questions before time mag-end?